What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 396 of the Smark Out Moments Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags of the Week, where we will be breaking down some of the current events, the rumors, the news, the gossip, and everything else that went down in the world of professional wrestling over the past few days that we feel like talking about. We are Tony Mango and Robert DeFelice.
Well, Tony, we're one day into the rest of our lives, and this was a wild Monday night, was it not?
Yes, it is. This is one of those rare instances where we decided that the main thing to talk about was going to be Monday Night Raw instead of something like, I don't know, like somebody changed their name or something like that. We will be breaking down the episode, not in like insane detail. We're not going to run it down as if this is like a Monday Night Raw post-show kind of thing. But we will talk about some other topics and stuff, so we invite you to join in on the comments section below on YouTube. Leave a comment, tell us what you think about all these stories, and while you were there, hit up that subscribe button, ring that little bell for notifications, and do the same thing if you are elsewhere. If you are on like the Anchor or iTunes or Stitcher or any of those kind of things, leave a review and follow us and whatever the case may be like that. If you are checking us out on Facebook and Twitter, follow us both there at Smark Out Moment. Follow myself at Tony Mango. Follow Rob at Dude Felice. And I'll toss out some other plugs when we get around to them, but we got plenty of things to talk about while we do that.
Since we're talking social media, I just have seen what may be the greatest hot tag we could possibly cover.
Really? What?
So one of the things on Raw was the Street Profits making an appearance on the brand, the NXT Tag Team Champions. Here is WWE's Instagram post from earlier this evening. And I quote, "The hashtag NXT Champions, AEW here on Raw."
Wait, what?
They auto-corrected R to AEW. This is real.
Wow. Well, we have a lot of positives to talk about for tonight, but that's a strange one. It is kind of weird, though. Why did the Street Profits show? I mean, we'll talk about this when we get around to it, but ooh, very strange.
Poor social media manager whose autocorrect went to AEW. I'm sorry for you.
Oh man, it's a weird night. Let's run down some of these quick things here. You didn't check them out. I've checked them out. I'm gonna tell everybody whether or not they should check them out. Good old see it or skip it thing. There's been a couple things added to the YouTube channel and to the WWE Network as well. One of them being Making WWE. They've done a couple of these this year. This is a new thing where it's basically essentially just another like chronicle or whatever. They've got like 1,000 names for these fucking documentary shows, and I really don't like that. And it kind of bugs me, but this one was Meet WWE's Longest-Tenured referee, who is Mike Chioda. And I liked it quite a bit because it gave you a little bit of insight to somebody who never gets any kind of spotlight because it's just a referee. And, people don't really pay attention to the referees. But Chioda talked about these memories that he's had of these matches going back to like 1980 something or whatever it was. I can't remember off the top of my head. And, pictures of him where you can tell that it's in that 90s range where he's got the hairstyle that was like super popular back then,
it's like a mullet.
Type, yeah, like the party in the back, that kind of thing. And he's talking about like how he's grooming the next bunch of referees and different some pointers and different things like that. I liked it quite a bit, so I would say check that out if you're interested.
Chioda comes from a time where we knew the fucking referees' names.
Yeah.
And I missed that.
I know 3 referees' names at this point. Mike Chioda, John Cone, and
Drake.
No, Drake, I forgot about Drake. Drake Wirtz.
Oh, Jessica.
Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot about her too. Yeah, Jessica Carr. No, I was thinking Charles Robinson was the other one.
Right. I forget. They don't make as big of a deal about him as they should, because Charles Robinson's been doing this for a long time as well.
Yeah, I mean, he might be longer. Actually, no, he's probably not longer tenured than Chioda. Chioda goes back further. But if you count the WCW days, I mean, he's got to be the next best on the list because Robinson's been doing this for a long, long time. Little Nate back in the day.
Is he mandated to all of Charlotte's matches?
I don't know, but he does tend to hang around with Charlotte quite a bit like that, just because of that reason. But
yeah,
he's great. Of course, his best moment, I think, WrestleMania 24, running
Oh,
down the
that
ring like
fucking
that.
Braun, dude.
It's so good. I love that so much. But Chioda, he's been around for a long time, and he said that, it's really great when, obviously, when people say, like, Shawn Michaels will say, like, I want Chioda for this match, or The Rock, or whoever else it might be. And, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'd rather watch that than to see something like the WWE Day of behind the scenes of Stomping Grounds with Bayley. That was just a complete waste of time. That was Bayley sitting there saying, yeah, sometimes it's hard. And then I remind myself that I love wrestling, and I love wrestling because I love wrestling. I love wrestling, and I love wrestling. I love wrestling. It's hard. I love wrestling. It's hard, though, but I love wrestling. For like 15 minutes or whatever the fuck it was. It's just a
Now,
complete waste.
all right, that sounds exhausting, but it also sounds like, I'm not going to say a shot at Sasha. A shot might be too strong. But definitely playing on the whole, yeah, a lot of people are unhappy. Kind of like Seth recently, where he's just like, yeah, people are unhappy, but you know what? We suck it up and we're still the best at what we do.
I think it was more so just Bayley only has one speed. Like, I don't remember a single promo that she's ever cut or a backstage thing that hasn't just been about, I love wrestling and I'm Bayley. And I would definitely say skip this one. 100%.
That's
It's not
a bit
even
of a
like
problem.
the Stomping Grounds element to it. It has nothing really to do with Stomping Grounds. I think at one point she just says something about like, well, I'm training a lot. I don't know if Alexa is. It's like, okay, you know.
That's a bit of a problem in today's generation, and I love that we're now in an era where everybody's a wrestling fan, but that everybody's gimmick and shtick is, well, I love wrestling and I've always wanted to do this. That gets old pretty quickly.
Especially when there's no other elements folded into it.
I don't know. I just, Bayley and especially Sasha too, their whole shtick was, we're just two girls that love wrestling. And I always said, like, nobody was saying this before AJ. And that made her rare and unique because everybody else was a diva. And she was just like, yeah, being a diva is cool, but I just wanted to be a wrestler. And now it seems like everybody's just like, oh, I wanted to be a wrestler. And it's almost reversed. Like, I miss people who are just like, fuck yeah, I like being a star.
Yeah. Like the Mandy Rose types. Mandy
Yeah,
was never like the biggest wrestling fan when she grew up.
Or even Corbin, and I know we shit on Corbin a lot, and sometimes it's really well deserved, but I think he's missing a bit of that edge right now of like, I just like being a star and kicking ass.
Yeah. I agree. What was the other one that I wanted to do? Oh, the one we just sent it. WWE Ride Along. It was the Lone Star Scavenger Hunt. In one car, the IIconics, and another car, Ryder and Hawkins. This was recorded back when they actually had the tag titles. So, I wrote down 3 notes on this. One being, enough with the fucking KFC promotions.
Are they still doing it?
Yeah, this was like kind of their glorified commercial in some ways. It wasn't as bad as the other ones were because it wasn't just like, let's spend the whole thing talking about KFC, but it started out with presented by KFC, and they were supposed to do scavenger hunt, and wouldn't you know that one of the things on the scavenger hunt was to try the new chicken sandwich from KFC. And they go there, and they never, of course, would air this type of thing, but all 4 of them were all like, oh, this is the best thing ever, this is so great. It'd be hilarious if they were like, oh, man, I really didn't want any fucking mayo on this, or like, now granted, it's a Cheetos chicken sandwich, of course I would fucking eat that. Like,
I saw the commercial for that, and they're doing a lot of like cross promotional food. I saw the Cheetos thing, the Cinnabon biscuits. There's the Mrs. Butterworth waffle fries.
There's all the stuff with Doritos and Taco Bell because they're owned by the same company. They're owned by Pepsi. So KFC and Taco Bell and all that must be like a real strong mandate coming down from above, of just being like, what do these kids like? They like Doritos. They like Cheetos. Let's throw them into our things, And it's like,
I saw
give it to me. Like,
saw a McDonald's commercial. They're doing signature dishes from McDonald's around the world, but you can now order them here. So I think that's pretty cool. That's a cool limited time kind of deal.
Is it like you can order like the Japanese, I don't know, like ramen burger or like
yeah,
whatever,
like
that
whatever
kind of
the
stuff?
signature deal dish is. So like, if you want the poutine from Canada, you can get that now.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Not gonna probably eat it, but I mean,
good on
I
you,
would try
McDonald's.
it.
I mean, KFC. Listen, biscuits are delicious. I love their potato wedges. I have zero interest in trying a Cheetos chicken sandwich.
I would have a lot more if it were Chick-fil-A or Wendy's.
I
But
have to retry Chick-fil-A. I had them once while driving to Florida, and it wasn't good.
see, I'm not a fan of pickles, so you got to get it without the pickles if that's the case.
Fuck pickles. Pickles are fucking disgusting.
They really are. But if you like peanut oil and stuff, like then that's another thing. But I wrote down that note. I wrote down another note of a really quick thing that Hawkins had said when they stopped into this little shop to buy some figures and stuff. He just casually threw out to the person he was like when he's leaving. Remember, friends don't let friends cheer for Mojo Rawley.
Well, that seems like a little inside joke, but I think that's fantastic.
I love that. And they were talking about how much is the most they've ever spent on a figure. And Hawkins said that he spent $1,500 on a figure. Ryder said he spent $11,000 on a figure.
Do they reveal one figure?
Yeah, Hawkins said it was some kind of an Ultimate Warrior, like only 15 of them were made type thing. And Ryder's was a Kamala figure with the moon on his stomach.
What weird, bro.
So $11,000 on that.
So you and I grew up on the Jakks Pacific action figures, and one day I'm going to buy like all of my favorites, like the Click and probably Brett and Taker. But I can't see myself spending more than maybe $50 for a single figure.
I wouldn't spend 10. Like at this point, it's like, I'm not like a Funko Pop collector or anything like that, but
What's
everybody's got
the most you
their
ever
things.
spent for merchandise? Like it could be any kind of merchandise. Wrestling, movie going.
I don't know off the top of my head, because like even like the things that are above my head right now that are like the Funko Pop things and stuff that, as I mentioned before, those are like things I had gotten in the unboxings, so I didn't spend anything for those. And I don't remember the last thing that I actually like spent money on.
So I'll tell you two things, and they're very, very recent purchases. I have the Jim Cornette Midnight Express 25th anniversary scrapbook. I paid $200 for it because they go for as much as $5. And I'm like, I want this book. I'm never paying $500, but I still had excess WrestleZone money coming in, so I said, fuck it.
I wouldn't pay 200 cents for it.
On top of that, I bought an In Your House triple header shirt with like Diesel, Yoko, Owen, and Shawn Michaels. I think I paid like 80, maybe 100 for it. But the reason being, I had a Big Daddy Cool Diesel shirt sitting in a shopping cart on Etsy for the longest time. I said, it's a size small, it's Diesel, it's 95, nobody's gonna buy it. Finally, when I had the money, so it was gone.
No,
and I'm like, well, I'm never letting any kind of new generation memorabilia out of my sight again. So I immediately snagged that triple header shirt.
I wish that I still had my old shirts from like Mind Games and whatever that, like an old like Austin Wallet and stuff. I probably have some of this stuff somewhere, but more than likely I probably threw them away too.
So there's an original, and if somebody listening to this picks this up before I get the chance to, you're dead to me. There's an original 97 D Generation X shirt where it's actually spelled out DE Generation X, and it's got the blood red X. It's $70 right now. on Etsy, and I'm planning on picking it up this week, and I hope to God it's still there.
I would never spend that much money on a shirt.
I
I bought a new suit recently, and I was trying to get a 2-for-1 for $100, and I was trying to look around, and I'm like, yeah, maybe sometimes that happens and stuff. I'm a real, I find it so hard to spend money on myself. Like,
Oh, no,
earlier
don't get me
today,
wrong.
I wanted to buy another USB charging cable for my phone, just as like another backup, and I put in a bid on eBay and ended up going up to like $1.50, and I'm like, fuck you, I ain't spending $1.55 or something. Like,
Don't get me wrong. I hate spending money on myself, and if somebody else, even if it's like the dumbest thing, like if somebody came to me right now and said, "Give me $20 to buy makeup," I'd be like, "Okay, here," because I just feel so much better not spending it on myself. But yeah, I want this DX shirt and all late '90s memorabilia.
so right along, I would say overall, I mean, it was kind of a bust, but whatever.
Yeah, they're not typically good.
No, especially when it's kind of like this, where there was really no other takeaways from this for the most part for me. Although I did actually like, and one other part that I liked was Edge and Christian, when they were doing their ride along, they called up Hawkins or Ryder, and they just kind of said like, "Hey, like, you know, like, we're calling you, we're doing ride along. By the way, you're never going to be on the podcast, haha." So Ryder called up Christian, and Christian was just like, "Kid, what do you want? Why are you calling me? You never call me." And he's like, you know, "Hey, we're doing ride along and whatever. When am I going to be on the podcast?" And he's like, "Never." And whatever. He's like, "Who do you like better, Ryder, me or Hawkins?" And he's like, "I don't really like either of you." It's just kind of, I like that kind of camaraderie back and forth. Other
That's
than that,
good.
I don't think there's really a reason to watch it, because the IIconics are just kind of blabbing on, and whatever. Just skip it. What you shouldn't skip, though, is voting for the tournament that we have going on, the Sexiest WWE Superstars. Round 3 is up. And you guys are fucking killing me on this, because everything keeps changing at the last minute and making me have to redo, like, you gotta figure I gotta redo the pictures for every person that's different, the pictures on the poll, the poll's explanation of who is in each thing, the brackets, the breakdown on the YouTube description, the YouTube picture for like what's going to be on the video itself, the thumbnail. And it's like, got to change that for a whole bunch of things. So we will break that down in more detail on probably Wednesday, and we will be talking about the different matches on there. But now you can go ahead and vote on round 3. The quarterfinals will determine, of course, who goes on to the semifinals next week. In round 4, go ahead and vote on the men's bracket and women's bracket while you can. And I don't know why you're voting the way that you're voting on some of these, but hey, you know what?
You all suck. I almost want to advise the opposite, that you shouldn't be voting because you're voting horribly this year.
For some
I know
of
what
them.
you're doing, but it's bad.
Some of them are going in the right direction.
Cole.
Of course, this
Vote
is all
Adam Cole.
Yeah, this is all opinion based, but at the same time, half of these votes, I'm like, oof, I don't know what's happening here, but we'll discuss that in more detail. And really quickly, I mentioned this before, but if you are on the iTunes, Stitcher, and all that kind of stuff, even if you are over there, subscribe to that YouTube channel. It'll help out quite a bit. More plugs along the way. Woo! Stay tuned for that.
Woo, plugs.
We've got so many things coming up over this next week, and I will break that down in more detail towards the end of this podcast. But one of the things that's happening that I did not have on the schedule a couple weeks ago was that Evolve is going to be having their 10th anniversary celebration. It's Evolve 131, technically, and that show would normally not be covered in any capacity on Smark Moment, because I don't follow Evolve, and nobody else does. But they're airing it on the WWE Network, and they are going head-to-head with Fight for the Fallen. So I don't know how that's going to work, because I literally cannot watch 2 pay-per-views at the same time and do live coverage for both of those.
Callum can watch one and you can watch the other.
I mean, it might be one of those kind of deals, but somehow by the end of Sunday night,
You'll have 3 reviews.
I'll have 3 reviews. I'll have the Evolve one, I'll have the Fight for the Fallen, and I'll have the Extreme Rules. So it might be the type of deal where, like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but where I'm writing up my Bleacher Report stuff, and I'm writing up the wrestling news stuff, and I'm writing up the Smark Out Moment stuff for Fight for the Fallen, and then right afterward we do the post-show review, and then we break that down, and we try to do that pretty quickly, and then I start watching Evolve, and then I do the coverage of Evolve and watch that, and do some kind of a review of some sort or whatever. I don't really know exactly how I'm going to do this, but I will say, do not expect a pay-per-view point breakdown that we normally would do. There's not going to be a separate video for predictions of that. That's going to be lumped into the hot tags for next week. And if they announce any other matches, then tough shit. It's just going to be on the page on smarkoutmoment.com. And the live results aren't going to be live unless somebody else can kind of jump on that. But I would assume that that's probably not going to be the case. So stay tuned for that if you can. But I'm not going to make any promises. And eventually I'll have something up there. I don't know exactly what, but we will break that down in some capacity, whether it's the next week's hot tags or something. What do you think about this whole idea that they're doing this?
I think I think that AEW, they came out of the gate with some very heavy criticisms. And I don't think that this has anything to do with the fact that they're presenting a charity event. It just so happens that they're presenting a charity event. Are they doing this to undercut AEW? No. I think that this is the replacement for a takeover. And since Extreme Rules is in Philadelphia, and they've been working with Evolve forever, and they've been trying to get other promotions on the network forever, that it's just mad coincidence. But I do want to present the other side of, they can be conniving sons of bitches, and maybe this is all a ploy to divide the audience. However, for the audience who says, we want a war, you're getting your war. Guys, you are getting, the wrestling world is as hot and as intense as it's ever been. I think this card looks good. Drew Gulak and Matt Riddle outside of a WWE environment is going to be fantastic. Akira Tozawa is going to fight Adam Cole. Does he have a chance in hell? Absolutely not. But you know what? He's going to have the match. And it'll be a good one. I think it'll be fun.
It's currently Gulak and Riddle, Tozawa against Cole for the NXT Championship, and two people that I don't know. So
who are they?
Actually, you know what? I'm blanking on their name. It's Joshua Gibbs against somebody, I think. Let me bring that up real quick while I'm stalling for time. Josh Briggs, that's what it is, against Anthony Green in a The Future Is Now showcase match. I'm still confused about why Gulak and Matt Riddle are in a Catch Point reunion match, too.
Because they were in a faction called Catch Point.
Aha. So that makes sense.
Because they're both collegiate-style athletes.
And The Future Is Now showcases just, I guess, two people that they think are like,
NXT,
these guys will be...
NXT, The Future Is Now, and, yeah, to showcase. And if you don't know what a showcase is, then
yeah, then yeah, but what is a match?
Okay, so a match is this thing that you strike.
I hope
to light a fire.
I was hoping you'd go with that. Yeah, I don't know anything about Evolve really all that much, and we will be discussing as much as we can in certain details.
Well, here's what you need to know about Evolve, as I assume we only have one more hot tag.
Two of them, I think.
Yeah. we do have the Impact.
We have a couple
on AXS thing, right? But what you need to know about Evolve is it's run by Gabe Sapolsky, Paul Heyman's protege. You know who spent a lot of time in Evolve? The Street Profits. So do you think it's a coincidence that on the first Paul Heyman run show, the Street Profits are on Monday Night Raw? Because I certainly don't.
Although they didn't really do anything.
They fucked with Paul Heyman.
Yeah, that's true. We will talk Paul Heyman. We will talk Eric Bischoff. Really quickly, though, Jinder Mahal is out with an injury. He's going to be out 6 to 12 months. He ruptured his patellar tendon. So that sucks.
Well, this is... I apologize to the Smarks. This is clearly the hottest hot tag because breaking news, the Jinder has been hindered. And he will be out for, what, 6 to 9 months?
6 to 12 is what I
Oof.
have been seeing. So
A year without the Jinder, how will we survive?
that face turn still hasn't happened yet.
In all seriousness, Jinder Mahal, unfortunately, hasn't done much since being WWE champion, and I feel bad for him.
Hey, he's
But
a
you know
former 24/7 champion.
You think that's why Drake Maverick is getting a push? Because they can't do the goofy stuff with Jinder?
No, I think it's just that they like Drake a lot.
He deserves awards.
Let's see what else we have here. I think you mentioned Impact. Yeah, Impact. That was another thing.
They're in talks with AXS TV. We'll blow through this real quick. Callum in the Megamaniacs said it perfectly. It is at the point where only two things will survive a nuclear holocaust, and that's cockroaches and Impact Wrestling. Because these fucking guys just survive.
You gotta give them credit for that.
Now, as far as the channel, AXS TV is a great channel. They show New Japan. They show Women of Wrestling. Two brands that we do not cover. Well, I lie. We cover New Japan. We will be covering them this Thursday. But we do not cover Women of Wrestling. And I like the idea of Impact getting on AXS TV, as crazy as it is. I just hope that we can fix some of the production issues that Impact has been having so they can go back to seeming like a legitimate competitor. And you know what? If they can get onto this channel, kudos to them. And I wish them all the success in the world. It's just baffling to me that they can continue to survive.
It's really strange because it's not like there's been any kind of big, like... I mean, there is like a little bit of a boom in wrestling right now from AEW coming around and people just like, the Fox deal and all this. But at the same time, it's like, where's the momentum been for Impact? They haven't, as far as I'm aware, they haven't really done anything that's made it been like, wow, Impact is changing. I would have thought, if anything, that this would have been when they switched it over and they did the whole, like, getting rid of Dixie and all that. Like, that's when things could have had something. Not now,
Yeah, and last year they kind of had that momentum and they did a great Slammiversary show and it carried them through. And then they had the issue with Aries at Bound for Glory. But they had a lot of good things going for them because they had the Lucha Brothers. And they had Sami Callihan, who, by the way, Impact has a pay-per-view this Sunday, Slammiversary. If I watch it, that's not a promise, maybe I'll do a solo here on the channel. They got a great match with Sami Callihan and Tessa Blanchard doing the intergender thing. Michael Elgin will be challenging Brian Cage for the world title. Johnny Impact, a.k.a. Morrison, will be challenging Rich Swann for the X Division title, so I'm sure that match will be great. LAX will fight the Rascals, but they have a great in-ring product, but that's not enough to me anymore, because everybody has a great in-ring product in 2019. WWE has a fantastic in-ring product. Ring of Honor has a good in-ring product. I want more sizzle on my steak, you know what I mean?
You like a flat iron kind of grill or char marks?
I like the char marks. Now, I know it's like you're supposed to just like the propane and not the charcoal, but I like the char marks. And what's more than that, I like using wood chips and getting the flavor of different wood chips like applewood and hickory smoked wood, and there's your snack talk. I'm going to stop because I will go on for an hour about steak.
Let's see what happens when it comes to Big Brother. Maybe that dude on Big Brother, Cliff, can help out when it comes to the propane side of things.
You ever had Omaha Steaks?
Nope. And we're not sponsored by them, so if they ever want to sponsor this, because they seem to sponsor a lot of different podcasts, so you want to send a steak my way?
Sponsor us so I can try your Omaha Steaks, because I bet they're delicious.
I'll give you a deal, Omaha Steaks. If you sponsor Smark Out Moment, Smack Talk, and you send a steak to me, a steak to Rob, a steak to Callum if he wants it, I don't know, he doesn't like a lot of good food. Had to throw that out there. We will give you a plug on the next, I don't know, on every podcast we do for the fucking month. There you go.
All right.
Stakes. We're going to raise the stakes here. Do that. Let's see. Let's talk about this because this is going to lead into the other topic. It's a couple days old at this point, but we need to address it because if we didn't address it, it'd be like, well, why is this not a thing? The plugs. I'm just kidding. Actually, I do want to do some plugs really quick, just to throw everybody for a loop. If you have not figured out what's happening on fanboysanonymous.com, that is my geek culture website. It is for movie reviews, TV shows, comic books, video games, that kind of stuff. So go on over there. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be watching Spider-Man Far From Home. And whenever the chance I get to post up that review point, I will be posting a review point podcast up about that. Also, very quickly, when it comes to plugs, check out the merchandise shops on TeePublic and Redbubble for Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, and a Mango Tees. That's where you'll pick up some merchandise like some t-shirts or clocks or wall art or whatever the case may be, stickers, you know. And there's also the Patreon. So if you have some spare change and you want to throw it our way to help us keep the lights on and motivated to do a bunch of different things and do some extra special features, then the Patreon is the best way to do that. So patreon.com/smarkoutmoment/fanboysanonymous. Donate, and you will be greatly appreciated with that. But yes, let's talk about Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff. They are now taking charge. They are going to be the executive directors, is the term that they are using, for Raw and SmackDown. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to this. Paul Heyman is going to be running Raw. Bischoff is going to be running SmackDown. Supposedly, I don't know if I believe in this all that much, but it is going around on the dirt sheets and everything. Fox would have preferred to have Paul Heyman rather than Eric Bischoff. There are stories about how much are they going to be in control. They obviously report directly to Vince McMahon, but are they going to be able to actually get through to him that way? There's discussion about the idea that Triple H, I'm joking over my over my air here, Triple H being kind of pushed aside, that he's going to focus just entirely on NXT and not do anything when it comes to Raw and SmackDown, which could be a major, major negative that would go with the positives. What are you thinking first off when it comes to this? When you first heard that report, what was your go-to thought?
I said holy shit audibly about 5 times. And then my go-to thought was Eric Bischoff? Really? Like, because Heyman had been... It was like, Heyman's working creative. We knew that was going to be a thing. He was working with Rousey. He was working with Brock, obviously. But we knew Heyman had been around. But the random signing of Eric Bischoff really stood out to me. And then the title, Executive Director. And I thought, have they ever had an Executive Director? And no, these are newly created positions. But my guess would be that if there was an Executive Director, it would have been Kevin Dunn. And there are rumors circulating that he is actually out, which is very, very telling, I think, just how the times are changing. But then you get into the dream team scenario, whether they're old or not right now, I don't care. The dream team scenario of it's Vince at the top, underneath him having equal control of individual brands are the leader of ECW,
ECW and WCW, essentially.
The leader of WCW, and then it gets better because who is in control of the developmental brand and the future but D-Generation X?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what a wild fucking place to work right now. And then you think you got Jarrett of TNA as a producer. Like, this is a fucking all-star lineup.
Bruce Pritchard is in the mix. You've got what's his face? Abyss from TNA is in there.
Abyss, yeah.
Which I don't... it's hard to tell with some of those people like that. You never know what their ideas have been. And I really, I don't want to throw this out there with any kind of, real fervent attitude or anything like that, but since Abyss and Gregory Helms came on and all that, like, this has been a real bad, rough spot for WWE for the past, like, year. I
But
wonder
you
if
don't
they have
know
anything
what.
to do with any of these, like, what ideas
But
did
you
they
don't know
pitch that
what they
didn't get into the
control.
mix? Yeah, like,
Like, do they just book matches? Is Abyss just helping, like, big guys? Is he just working hand in hand with Strowman?
yeah, is he, like, backstage kind of going, well, why don't you do this kind of move? That would be a good way to do something with Bobby Lashley on this night? Or is it like, I've got this idea for a feud and I'm going to really make this like my baby and it really sucks or something? Like, it's really tough to tell. And I wish that we could get, every once in a while we get some little nuggets of information from like Pritchard's podcast where, I don't know, even like Grilling JR or anything like that. But I really wish that we could know, like, just some kind of who's working on what, who's going to be having control over different things. Like, now that they're doing this whole executive director thing, like, where does Stephanie come in? Is Stephanie going to be working creative? Is she not going to be working creative? If she is, who she's going to be working with? Who is she going to have control over? Who is going to outrank her? Like, lots of different elements like that we just do not know.
Do you think? And I thought about Stephanie a lot too, because the deal was that she was in charge of creative writing. That was her deal, right? She was above Heyman when he was working as a writer, and I wonder if she's just found her calling as the brand ambassador or the chief branding officer, where she can just be like, and look at how great we are, and we're so awesome, and we help charities. And I like her away from the writing team, as far as we know.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, everybody has their highlights and their low points, and they have their skills that they can do. And that applies to literally everything. Even me, as a writer, as a podcast person, whatever the case may be. If you had asked me to do play-by-play coverage for something, that's not my game. I don't know how to do that all that well. Like, it's not going to be engaging. It's not going to be great. Same thing with if somebody were to pitch for me to do writing of, like, the more like historical types of articles. You'll notice that, like, as much as I spread myself thin, I'm never writing up these articles that are like top 10 moments from WrestleMania history, because it's like, I don't have the ability to do those. It's just not my thing. Stephanie's really good with like the brand ambassador type stuff. But I don't know if like creative writing is really her thing. And I'd be really curious to see where these executive director positions come into play when it comes to something like, are they more creative writers, or are they more overall like you said, like the Kevin Dunn situation? Like, if Kevin Dunn is out, which I don't buy into that report at all, I'll believe it when I see it, that kind of thing. That strikes me more as a Michael Cole thing. Because weren't they kind of like pushing him towards that?
It could be. I don't know, because Kevin Dunn, for as long as I've been alive, has been in that role. I wouldn't know anything else. And maybe it's just times changing. Maybe he's tired of this role, Maybe he wants to move on.
And that too, I mean, a lot of people crap on Kevin Dunn. But at the same time, production-wise, yeah, ignoring the whole creative side of things, the production of WWE, I don't think that that's a problem. There are some things that need to be tweaked. Like, I mean, if he is the one that made the call that, like, the interviewers just stare off into nothingness, then, yeah, that's a problem. Or if he's the one that says, we need to have people stare at the screen in that certain angle. Or even the one that makes the call of the whole, like, let's have them go to the outside, and then we're going to say, and we'll return when SmackDown rolls on. Like, those types of elements, those need to change. But, like, the visual presentation, the lighting, like, all that stuff, like, that stuff's great. If Kevin Dunn is the one responsible for those things, then he, as far as I'm concerned, like, he should stick around with that. He should just not be able to say we should only have blondes on the roster, or, like, different things like that.
I think there's a lot to me anyway, that's wrong with the production of WWE today. Just there's no originality. All the sets look the same, and I don't know if that's a KD call or if that's a budget thing or whatever, but all the sets look identical. In some cases, it is a little too bright. You know, they could stand to dim the lights like they were doing back what was it, for 2 weeks a month ago. But I'm just excited, and that's another Bischoff thing that I'm looking forward to. These are guys who have completely separate jobs in entertainment. What have they learned that they can bring to wrestling? Because wrestling is stale. One of the best things about Raw tonight, there was no 20-minute promo anywhere. There was no 20-minute promo. We opened the show with what may have been a botch and showing the Street Profits on screen for 30 seconds. And then they cut right to a Braun Strowman Bobby Lashley match, which lived up to the stipulation of they were going all over the building. And then I'll let you take it from here, but explosions.
Well, we don't know for sure how much of an influence Paul Heyman had over this show, but it does look like this was different than normal. And if this is already a good sign, kind of burying the lead of what I'm about to say, but if this is already a sign of the things to change, then it's a good sign because, like I said, our main thing that we're going to talk about on this episode, very rarely this happens. Usually it's like, well, it's crap all over it or something like that, but is to talk about how surprisingly good this episode of Monday Night Raw was. This was, like, you had messaged me an hour into it, and you said, man, that hour flew by, and I was like, wait a minute, what? Oh, fuck, an hour went by. Yeah, like, this was a good episode of Monday Night Raw. Not everything was great, of course. There's things to nitpick and stuff, but by and large, these 3 hours did not feel like an episode of Monday Night Raw that we've been used to.
Not at all. And I mentioned this to you before we got on air. It was hard to turn away. It was hard to decide when to go microwave food because this show it started with the Falls Count Anywhere match, and I was half in, half out because I'm not into the Braun Strowman Lashley thing much. And then all of a sudden I see that they go through the stage and it's just explosions, and there's a lot of them. And I'm like, all right, well, we've seen that before, but they keep going. There was a lot of these explosions. And suddenly you hear Corey Graves go, holy shit.
Yeah,
and
that took me by surprise.
I was like, wait, what happened here? And then, in what I believe is the first major key change, it was just a straight shot of the entire area from almost an overhead view. And they did not leave the shot until they came back from commercial. And I thought, that's really cool.
They treated this, for anybody who didn't watch Monday Night Raw, obviously, spoilers, I guess, I don't know, this isn't really the type of thing there. It's like, spoilers, Thanos did this or something, It's my impression of somebody pissed at me saying something apparently is, it's fucking Thanos. But yeah, it's they do this whole tackle through the stage, and like you said, we've seen this before. It's happened, I don't know, 6 times over the past 10 years, something like that. So that's not really super crazy, especially since he wasn't involved. But Corey Graves saying, I tried not to laugh at that on a joke, but I had to. Corey Graves saying "holy shit" really made me go, oh wait, I have to actually have my eyes on the screen now instead of just kind of half paying attention.
Yeah, I jumped up and started, that was the moment where, okay, I'm not looking away.
And then that long shot was something that was definitely different. That made it feel a lot more real. And they didn't do the type of thing that I would have expected them to do. And I was waiting for it, where they would have somebody be like, oh, we're going to get some cameras on the spot, and we're going to do this, and we're going to, kind of play around with it a little bit more. They kept it as almost, you have to have a little bit of suspension of disbelief, obviously, because you can see that it's like these little pyro kind of things. It's not real fire happening.
By the way, they use pyro.
Yeah, I saw this
When
funny tweet. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was that tweeted it, but somebody had tweeted out, "Oh, so the backstage entrance gets pyro."
WrestleNotes on Twitter tweeted, "Pyro, profanity, chaotic angle. Well, maybe this is a new era."
Yeah, and I loved it. This was a great start. It was the first 20 minutes of Raw, and almost nothing happened. Yet I was staying, paying attention to it. It
The
didn't
only
have to
thing,
be that all this kind of like that they were in the middle of something crazy. And I had tweeted out at the beginning of it way before this even happened. I was just like, wait, Monday Night Raw is starting off with a match, and it's a false count anywhere match, because I like false count anywhere matches. I think that they don't utilize them as much as they should. And I was like, that's great. We're not doing a whole 15-minute promo to set things up. This is a great start. And then they went into this, and I was like, oh, fuck. All right, this is even better.
and then the one nitpick I have, I would have killed the audience's sound because they didn't know what to make of it at first. So first you get the holy shit chants, and then you get like weird, like they're counting them out. You hear 1, 2, but then as they're realizing that like, okay, this is a really long segment, they're just, thank you, Heyman. I would have killed their audio because it dampened the seriousness a little bit. And by the way, they did treat this like a very serious angle where they had Alexa Bliss, Seth Rollins say things like, we're thinking about you, Lashley and Strowman, which I thought was interesting because we've definitely seen spots like this before, but it was a good way to get it back into, well, this can be real. Let's re-educate the audience that this can be a real thing. Even Michael Cole, when he came back from commercial, said, things happen and we are equipped to help our talent, but this was so great that we weren't even ready for this. We did not have the medical staff needed for this, which
Yeah,
I
that
thought was
music guy in the back.
interesting.
Good.
Good.
I was going to make a stupid
No,
joke. I was just going to say that the music guy in the back never played You All Ready for This. That's why.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's why I said go ahead, because
was,
I'm like,
I thought it was an interesting way to redo an angle we've seen so much, and I really think it made the show immediately feel must see. And then you get the match afterwards with like the New Day and the Viking Raiders and Samoa Joe, and I thought, great match, great 6-man tag with Samoa Joe actually beating Kofi Kingston. I believe he's the first person to do that since Kofi won the title. But even better than that, you're getting all these promos and these Undertaker's here. Or is he? We're hearing rumors that the Undertaker's here. Now it's really like, I can't turn away. I cannot look away. And I believe by the end of the first hour, is that when we got the Undertaker?
I don't know about that, like, as far as the timing goes, but they did set it up like, hey, in case you are interested, Undertaker is going to be on tonight. Get that old school fan vibe. Show out the New Day and the Viking Raiders, where it's like, we're going to go straight into another match again. Not, oh, we did this whole spot thing, and now it's, 8:25, and we're going to go straight into our 20-minute promo, and that's how we got you. Haha, like, nothing like that. It was like, no, let's go through another match. And there's a great interview that happened recently with Paul Heyman, and it's been, passed around a little bit here and there, where he had said, like, the general manager role is played out a little bit, and he essentially said something that a lot of people are believing, which was, why are we not just presenting matches as this could be a good match? I'm excited to see the match. Why are we getting bogged down on all the bullshit behind the scenes? And there was a concerted effort, it seemed to me tonight, to present matches as like, our goal is to have this match, and then we're going to do the match. They played around with storylines, they did some different things, but it was like the New Day and the Viking Raiders. They had said that ahead of time. New Day and the Viking Raiders go out, and we're having our second match over the course of our first half hour. And the only reason why this is dragged on that long is because of the Angle thing. It wasn't because they needed to spend 10 minutes of the New Day talking or have an interview with the Viking Raiders ahead of time, or you know what I mean? Like, it just went, yeah, let's go to another match. And Viking Raiders lose by disqualification because of Samoa Joe attacking. Let's set up that 6-man tag. I don't like this. You like it, but I'm going to kind of have a little discussion about that. I'm not digging the let's set something up for when we come back and have another match. Like,
Well,
I am sick
like
and tired of 2 out of 3 falls matches now.
That's the only issue I have. I don't think you need to do that storyline just to have this rule, because they manage it well with the other matches, and I like the idea that you don't feel like you're missing too much. You know, it seems like they're saving the wrestling for the wrestling program. I just think it might be difficult if you're live in the audience. Now, do you want to go into the Undertaker thing next? I don't know how you want to do this.
Nah, we got other things to talk about before that. What about the whole, like, Samoa Joe beating Kofi Kingston? That makes a lot of sense to me. That makes it look like he's got a chance to beat Kofi at Extreme Rules. Another, like, logical, sensible thing to do.
Yeah, and again, Joe is the first person to beat him since Mania, so it makes him seem even more prestigious, even more of a badass. Do I think he'll beat him at Extreme Rules? No, but I now believe that he's got a possible chance more than I did last week.
Yeah. Then we went to a backstage segment with Drake Maverick and his wife, Renee Michelle, who people might know from the Mae Young Classic. He has taken her to Monday Night Raw instead of their honeymoon, and she gives him an ultimatum. She's like, you know what? You got to pick 24/7 championship or me. And R-Truth pops up after, of course, Drake says, of course I choose you, and whatever. And he just says, don't mind me, you know, I'm a sucker for romance, whatever. They set up that, so that's going to go throughout the whole night. They set up another thing with the Good Brothers talking to AJ Styles, and Carl Anderson says, essentially, you can't beat Ricochet. I'll even bet my hot Asian wife that you can't beat him. I love the hot Asian wife
they
jokes.
did. They bet his hot Asian wife, and not only did they bet the hot Asian wife, but AJ said, I'm going to remember that. And Luke Gallows piled on with, please tell me you're serious, because I need this. So, very outside the box for WWE. The next thing we see is No Way Jose.
And that was kind of just like, well, okay, No Way Jose's coming out. Who's he going to get squashed by? And yet, Cesaro's in the ring. I'm thinking it's just going to be, Cesaro beats him and that's the end of it. But R-Truth is at the end of the conga line. And yeah. Drake Maverick and Renee Michelle are sitting ringside, and Truth is teasing him. He's laying down on top of the fucking barricade just to be like, hey, you could pin me, you could pin me, you could pin me, which is like, you're testing your luck, Truth. And he gets chased off by the Raw roster, the same like 5 people that have been chasing him. Cesaro beats the crap out of No Way Jose. The match doesn't even start, but as much as that's kind of like, the match didn't start. Well, we just got 2 matches from the Viking Raiders and all that, and we got that Bobby Lashley thing. I'm okay with that. It told more of a storyline.
And you got Cesaro being a fucking badass. And if there was one person that I feel very comfortable with in the hands of Paul Heyman, it's Cesaro. And I am now so excited to see what's next for him in this new era.
Speaking of what's next, we get NXT's tag team champions, the Street Profits, backstage. They're interviewed by Charlie Caruso. Spoiler alert on this, they didn't do anything. They had another backstage segment with Paul Heyman, and they were kind of like fucking around with Paul Heyman, but I was expecting that they would wrestle in a match, and they didn't. And I'm really curious why that was the booking philosophy behind them there.
My guess would be because they're compelling characters. They're very good on the mic. They had fun. Charlie has a job right now. Charlie Caruso has a job right now because she's so animated. And she gets into it. And she's dancing with the Street Profits. And Montez Ford is, drinking what we all presume to be alcohol. And he is just dancing. He's having a good time. And I loved this segment. And more importantly, I said, give those titles to the Undisputed Era and bring your asses up to Monday Night Raw, because they're so entertaining. They're so good.
It's happening.
And the Paul Heyman segment, so much fun. They're messing around with his bald head. They're making fun of him because his head is shining. They're laughing at the idea of Brock Lesnar being around. Like, oh, Brock Lesnar's here. We want to see Brock Lesnar. They're just fun.
Yeah, I think that
it.
this is a sign for sure, as if that wasn't already something to predict. They're dropping those titles in Toronto.
Yep.
So they didn't really pan out much, but a lot of the other things they had done throughout the night did end up panning out. But they had been bringing up this idea of they're going to address The Undertaker. Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre are going to come out and do something with that. Admittedly, one of my least favorite parts of the night, when it comes to like McIntyre and Shane McMahon's promo, because I wasn't feeling that. But they basically say, we're not scared of The Undertaker. Gong goes off in a slightly different way. They kind of played around with that, with like the lights dimming back and forth instead of actually just like standard gong, lights go out, lights go back on, Undertaker's there, that kind of thing or something. And The Undertaker, since they had retreated, cuts a promo. Typical Undertaker promo, but hey, typical Undertaker is great. About like, I want to take your souls and dig a hole and fuck your souls and all this, like, you know. I mean, obviously he wasn't saying that, but like, lots of soul talk, lots of like, you're gonna burn through eternity and hellfire and brimstone and all that. And I loved that it was like the acrid stench or whatever, and somebody in the crowd goes, "Musky."
the acrid stench of death. And he had a great line, which is a little hokey in 2019, but it's The Undertaker, so by all means I let it slide and I loved it. Shane McMahon, you may be the best in this world, but where I'm sending you, you will be nothing more than two lost souls. And I fucking love my Undertaker with nothing but hokey, just full of dark goodness. Like, I would put this Undertaker on the mic in the ring any day of the week, and he delivered. And you know what else delivered? And this is not a knock on the guy. We've been over this. I love him. No Roman Reigns. And I think that felt really good.
They made it a point to reiterate this thing, though, that he was like, Roman Reigns never called me for his help. Like, he didn't have to. He's not that type of guy.
He's not that kind of guy. Yeah, I laughed at that.
He wouldn't ask for that. I wonder if that was like a Vince thing where it was just kind of like, we got to make sure that everybody knows he's not a pussy.
keep Roman strong. But you know what? I think you could get the Drew McIntyre Undertaker match easily, but I'm not so sold that Roman's not going to turn on the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Well, I like the idea that they're doing this stuff. I mean, the Undertaker has had a little, some rough patches here and there lately. And I don't like this Shane McMahon, Drew McIntyre tag team. I don't like the Shane McMahon story at all. I really still am annoyed that they're doing the Reigns and McIntyre stuff and they're wasting it, I think. So it's almost just a matter of like, they threw in Undertaker here and I'm just like, yay, Undertaker. Like, that helps.
Yeah, and he seems reinvigorated. Like, that Goldberg match seems like it really pissed him off. I like my Undertaker with some fire, because Triple H and Shawn Michaels are great. They're two of my favorites of all time. But how long can you keep the Undertaker tied to those two guys just to give him something with passion?
Right, yeah. And if this is something that he's into, then we're going to get a much better Undertaker than we got with the Goldberg thing. And I don't blame Undertaker for the Goldberg thing either. I blame Goldberg for the Goldberg thing.
Yeah.
Then we had this whole thing with Lacey Evans beating Natalya with a little bit of help from Baron Corbin.
Wait, what? Did you say eating?
Beating.
Okay, I did not hear the bar. I was like, that didn't happen.
I don't think I said eating. If I did, then it's a different version of Snack Talk. But I liked it for the most part. I mean, it's old school type stuff where you give Lacey Evans a win so she looks a little stronger against Becky Lynch. You give her a win through Baron Corbin, so that means that they're working well together as a tandem, and Natalya doesn't look as bad in taking the loss. This is like logical booking.
Basic shit. This is pro wrestling 101, guys.
Yeah. This is the type of stuff that should not be like called out as being like, wow, they did something that makes sense and stuff, you know?
Yeah, and I hate to admit it, but it's working. Like, Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans are so hateable that put them together and it's working. I just didn't like that apparently they came out to Corbin's music, but once Lacey won, they actually played her theme song. And yeah, everybody wins here. I saw nothing wrong with this segment.
I mean, he went back to the whole Good Brothers thing with Ricochet, and they're kind of poking and prodding, making sure that those two fight each other, and it gets to the point where Styles challenges Ricochet for the United States title and slaps him in the face. Ricochet slaps him back.
He fucking slapped... AJ slapped the shit out of this dude. And that was one of the better TV slaps I've heard in a while. It really made a noise.
But it should have ricocheted.
Damn it, Tony.
That would have been great if he slapped him and then he, like, bounced backward, you know?
I liked it. Great segment. And it set up a TV main event that didn't go too long, and it's set up even more great things that we'll talk about later.
Then we carried over this Miz and Elias thing. This one was lackluster to me. They had a 2 out of 3 falls match. I mentioned before, I've been sick and tired of those. It's a little too, like, that's our answer to everything now. We've gotten multiple of these on pretty much every episode of Raw and SmackDown for the past, like, 3 weeks. So I'm not a big fan of that. But Miz wins pretty quickly. Elias wins quickly enough after that. And then the Miz wins the third fall by submission with the figure 4. She's like, bringing that back.
Good. I want the Miz to be on a rise again because he was a very good player in 2016 and 2017, and he lost his footing somewhere along the way. And I think he needs to get his steam back.
We had an interview. This was one of the weirder parts of the night. Charlotte Caruso interviews Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. And it's essentially like, what are you guys going to be doing when you face Corbin and Evans? Are you guys going to work together as a team? That kind of thing. They're playing around with the idea of, like, being a little mad at each other, maybe. Like, you better not lose my title. You better not lose my title. I like the part where Rollins is like, if you just listen to me every once in a while, and, like, you know, foot in the mouth kind of thing. They're playing up the, like, that they're, like, a quirky couple, you know.
This segment was strong with the... It is 2019, and it is perfectly okay for the woman to take the charge in the relationship, because Becky, throughout this entire thing, has seemed like, yeah, this... You ever see that episode of Family Guy where Lois takes karate?
I knew exactly where you were going with
it. Yeah, and Lois grabbed Peter's crotch and goes, "This is mine. This is where my babies come from." Becky seems like she's very close to doing that. And then you think that's the worst you're going to get of it. And then into the picture comes Maria Kanellis.
And Maria is setting up this idea of, like, well, you know, you are not like the first couple, and me and Mike Kanellis are gonna beat you two and whatever. And she tosses out the line.
Hold on. Becky, if you're so confident, why don't you take me and my bitch, referring to her husband Mike,
right,
versus you and yours? And you think that's the worst of it you're gonna get, and then they do the match.
And the match, too, is just... It's supposed to be a mixed tag team match. They throw out the rules at the end of it. You know, we'll talk about that in a minute. But Maria is supposed to get in, and she grabs a microphone, and she goes, "I'm pregnant." And Becky's like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm not going to hit you then." You know, I'm not a monster, essentially.
Well, not only that, first of all, she goes, "You were supposed to," talking to Mike, "you were supposed to protect me. You're useless. You said you could mop the floor with Seth Rollins, but I should have known that you can't mop the floor with him because you can't even mop the floor at home. And now what am I going to do?" And Becky goes to hit her, and that's what she pulls out the, "No, I'm pregnant." To which Mike Kanellis is shocked and audibly
Admittedly,
says,
so just being like, "You're pregnant?" Like,
"How are you pregnant?" As though
he
there's
still
some
doesn't
kind of
know
birth
how this
control,
works.
or maybe he's not giving it to her. I don't know. But she then insults him more so by saying, "How am I pregnant? I don't know, because I don't think you're man enough to impregnate me." Which leads to Becky Lynch tossing Mike Kanellis in the ring and putting him in the disarm her, which I guess is the disarm him for the night. And Mike Kanellis taps to Becky Lynch. Becky and Seth leave, and Maria Kanellis continues to get on the microphone and berates Mike Kanellis. "I don't know how this has happened. I've been waiting for you to man up and get some responsibility, and I don't even know how you're the father of my children. The only man around here is Becky Lynch, and maybe next time I'll ask her to impregnate me."
I
Wow.
equal parts really liked and absolutely hated this.
Yeah, I'm with you.
There's like, I like that they were like trying something a little different. I like that they, in theory, like when they popped up and it was Mike and Maria, and I was like, oh, they're going to do a mixed tag match. Okay, this makes sense. It shows that Becky and Seth can work together as a team, or maybe you want to tell a story that they can't work together as a team, and then they can lose the match and whatever. That, in theory, I'm liking. But it felt like it was a little bit too over the top for me. Like, I mean, we heard the word impregnate like 15 times in this and stuff, and I honestly, I don't like Mike and Maria. So now that there's going to be this storyline of like their breakup and all this, and Maria being pregnant again or whatever, if they're going to follow through with that, I don't want to follow that story. I don't really care about it. So
I
I
don't
was
know if
disappointed with that.
I don't know if it's a breakup or if it's just honestly going to be, okay, Mike Kanell's character now, they're going to double down on the he took her name. I can, and this is a little extreme, and Corey Griff said the line, "What's the matter, Cole? You don't have any kinks?" But I can see her walking him down to the ring on a leash. I, I, I really can. You know, and maybe that's where we're going here. I don't know. But they told some interesting stories. And by the way, I'm not going to say this is a very adult storyline, but this seemed pretty heavy to say, maybe I'll just get in bed with Becky next time.
Right.
You know?
This was very much more on the ECW side of things, and this more than anything made me go, okay, maybe Paul Heyman does have a little bit of influence right now. They're trying though, and that's the thing. I want to, even though there's going to be elements that I don't like about these things, they are trying, and that's what we need. Because eventually they're going to hit on some stuff, and then they're going to keep that going. And the things that don't work, they're going to push aside. Hopefully they don't continue the things that don't work, but that's a different story.
You know what did work for me? Drake Maverick getting ready to exit the building with his lovely bride, Renee, and she says, "I'm going to go to the bathroom to freshen up." And he goes, "Okay, sweetie." Out comes the parade of 24/7 challengers. They run right past Drew. R-Truth was hiding out in some room, and he's like, "Oh, shit, Drake, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "No, man, I don't want any trouble. I just want to go on my honeymoon. I'm done with this." And Truth turns his back. Maverick hits him in back over the head with his luggage. Goes, "Give me a referee." 1, 2, 3. Drake Maverick's your new 24/7 champion. When his wife sees this, she's a little upset. He promised not to do this, and he goes, "Sweetie, I know you're upset with me, but it's okay, because now we can do our honeymoon right, because we're going to do it 24/7. And he thrusted his hips as he said that, and they run off, and we now get to look forward to Drake Maverick is going to finally consummate his marriage, and oh my god, he's in bed with R-Truth.
Peter's gonna get his wish about the somebody getting pinned in the bedroom thing. It's just not gonna be the way that he's expecting it to be.
They're totally gonna do the thing where the lights are off, and he thinks he's in bed, and he goes, "Wait a minute, gotcha." Oh god, I can't wait.
Yeah, I have to prep ahead of time that R-Truth is winning that 24/7 championship back, and I don't know if that's
in a hotel.
It could happen as soon as the tomorrow's SmackDown. They could do something along with that, or they might wait and try to do that throughout the week or something. But it's happening. It's happening. I think it's funny that they're throwing Renee into this because she is somebody who had been in the Mae Young Classic before, and she, I would assume, is somebody who still wants to be in WWE unless she wants to go, AEW or something like that. But this could end up being how she just becomes a regular member of the roster. They could be like, "Oh, you're a part of the family now. Why not? Why, if you're a wrestler, why don't you wrestle this match?" And I had to put her down for now as just an extra character for the end of the year awards, but wouldn't shock me if she gets signed. And I don't remember if she was a good wrestler or not.
I want to see her help her husband win this title.
She kind of starts getting into it too. If you're going to win the title, let's have it as much as we can, that kind of thing.
She's like, "Wait a minute, fuck this shit. Why? Oh, no. R-Truth isn't going to ruin my wedding and my honeymoon. No, you're going to win this title, and you're going to keep it this time."
Yeah, I'd be liking that.
One thing we did skip over was
the moment of Bliss. Yeah. Just gotta backtrack on that. Moment of Bliss was Nikki Cross on there. Carmella comes out to interrupt, and she says what everybody's thinking. Hey, if Nikki Cross beat Bayley, then why isn't she getting the title shot? Which I have to agree on multiple levels because I don't care about just an Alexa Bliss rematch. That's just not all that entertaining to me. And I'll get more into that when we get down to our prediction side of things, but she calls attention to that, and coincidentally, Alexa's in her ring gear, and so is Carmella. So look at that, we're having a match. And Carmella immediately pins Alexa with a roll-up, and then they go to a commercial break. Yeah, but hey, they're trying not to use Alexa all that much, and they were doing the whole, we're going to do something, and then the commercial break is going to set up something else. Nikki Cross beats Carmella by pinfall. This is more of what we've been getting, and I didn't like this as much.
Yeah, I'm not as mad as the internet was about the women's matches being short. People, as soon as they see a very brief and 1 second women's thing, they immediately think, all right, we're just going to go all the way back to the Divas era. And I don't think it's that. No. I think, they can't all be winners, guys. They can't all be Iron Man classics. Let this story tell itself. And one interesting note from commentary, this was Carmella's first ever match on Raw.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems really strange.
Odd, but you know what? She did get called up to SmackDown, and unless she did something around Survivor Series, this would be her first match.
That's right, yeah. Very weird.
Corey Graves, who is getting more and more comfortable in his own skin, on commentary, was very funny tonight. He said lines. Cole asked him if he would ever get married again, or if he would ever have his second honeymoon at Raw, and Graves, who's been taking a lot of shots at his ex-wife on commentary, just goes, "I'm never getting married again, Cole." And then Graves is dating Carmella, so when she comes out, he goes, I don't like when people interrupt the moment of bliss, and Renee just goes, "I think you'll make an exception this time around." And
he's like, "I don't know what you're implying," or whatever.
Yeah, I like little things like that where they're having fun with it. It sounds like people having fun.
Yeah, kind of like how Gorilla and Heenan used to do the whole "will you be serious?" and different things like that.
Yeah.
So that led us into the main event of the night. AJ Styles versus Ricochet for the United States Championship, and AJ wins the title with an asterisk because Ricochet's feet were under the ropes, at least one of his, his left foot, doesn't really matter. So another referee comes out, says like, no, that's not really what ended up happening. Let's restart the match. And Ricochet then beats AJ Styles to retain the title, which prompts AJ and the Good Brothers to be like, fuck this, let's turn heel.
It didn't exactly happen like that.
Yeah,
it did. The Good Brothers come out, and I guess they probably said something to AJ like, "You're not getting the hot wife," which pissed AJ off so much that he, turned around and beat the crap out of Ricochet. And probably one of my favorite AJ Styles moments of all time, they're just standing there watching him, and all of a sudden, like, the light bulb goes off that he's the leader of the club, and he goes, "Well, what are you waiting for?" And then they hit the ring. And now they're all beating the shit out of Ricochet, and they hit the Magic Killer, and AJ hits a top rope Styles Clash, and then they do the Too Sweet in the middle of the ring, and the club is back. And what a great episode of Raw. Not, like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like, okay, everything is solved. I'm not naive. They could have blown their load on this episode, and it won't be good again for another 6 months. But this was a really fun episode. Solid B+ in the pantheon of episodes. A+ as far as 2019 is concerned. But this was a really solid show.
A major step in the right direction. And even though I don't like certain elements to it, like, I don't think that AJ Styles turning heel is going to be a good idea in the long run. And I don't think that, like, the Elias and Miz thing worked out as well. And, some different elements of that. At the same time, they tried a lot of things that worked out really well. They tried a lot of things different that are just flat out trying things. And I enjoyed a lot more of this than I normally would have on a regular episode of Raw lately. So that's a major positive.
Absolutely. And you can't ever fault people for trying. I love when we get ambitious efforts. And I loved this. I really did. For the first time in a long time, Raw was enjoyable to watch. I dare say, from beginning to end.
Yeah, for the most part. And that's why it ended up being our focal point tonight.
Good for them. Do more of this. Give me more differentiating aspects on SmackDown, so it doesn't just feel like the same show with a different lighting scheme. I'm so excited, man. Like, we have a lot of work to do because there's way too much wrestling, but at the same time, has there ever been a more fulfilling and rewarding time to be a wrestling fan? You can watch whatever you want, however you want, whenever you want. It's so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety now. And if you're not liking what WWE's putting out there, watch New Japan, watch Ring of Honor, watch AEW, watch Impact, watch your local wrestling indie fed.
Yeah,
Fight
you never know who you're
TV.
gonna see.
There's Pivot Share, Power Slam, like
Fight TV. Pivot Share has a bunch of many ones. There's High Spots. There's Independent Wrestling TV. There's obviously Impact Plus, the network, NJPW World. Guys, there's so much good wrestling, and I can't think of a better night to just advocate that. Find what you love and just enjoy it to the fullest.
And hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Haha, I like that little transition. Leave a comment below. Tell us what you think about it. And all the other topics that we had talked about here, and stay tuned for the other things that are going to be coming up this week. I mentioned before, the next time that you guys are going to be hearing from us is going to be the Sexiest WWE Superstars Tournament Round 3 breakdown on Wednesday. We will talk about the men and women's brackets and kind of question how some of these votes went and probably argue about the way that we're going to vote and stuff like that, but that's kind of the whole point of the thing.
Oh yeah, there will be food puns. There's going to be so many food puns.
Hopefully. I don't know for sure if Caroline's going to be able to make it on this one or not, but hopefully that'll be the case. And then after that, we are going to break down the G1 Climax, the 29th tournament of the whole thing. I'm starting to do my research on this a little bit. 2019 tournament is going to be breaking down Block A, Block B. We have a whole bunch of questions that Callum has set up ahead of time that we're going to talk about who we think is going to end up doing certain things throughout the whole tournament, which is going to end in the middle of August. I think it's August 12th or so.
Let me correct you there. It's ending on the day of SummerSlam. You're welcome.
Oh my God, there's really going to be... Okay, one problem with this whole thing with wrestling nowadays is y'all gotta fucking figure out your schedules and stop overloading everything, because this is too much to handle.
My assumption is that unless you're awake, and you might be because you're a robot, we'll be covering the G1 finals on the morning before SummerSlam, and then we'll come back and do SummerSlam.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But we will talk about our prediction side of things and our preview coming up later on this week. And
if you're interested in more things from the mind of Callum Wiggins, check out 2001 Wrestling Odyssey. Callum and I go back in time, and he has done a lot of research. I'll give Callum Wiggins credit for one thing. He's a great wrestling historian, and 2001 Wrestling Odyssey is such a fun journey to be a part of. So go back and check that out on the YouTube and the podcast feeds. There's episodes for January, February, March, April, May, and now June. We just uploaded June over the weekend, and there's even a special on WrestleMania 17. So go back and check out all of those things. As for me, we already covered the Twitter and the YouTube, or the Twitter and the Facebook, but you can also check out me on WrestleZone's Facebook page at WrestleZone.com. I do the daily Monday through Thursday. That's a live discussion where wrestling fans can drive the questions. And outside of that, if you really want to support me, you can just check out my daily work on eWrestling News or go to timekillerapparel.com.
There you go. That's $3.96 in the bag. We will see you next time, everybody. Thanks for listening to this, and thank you for all of your support, whatever fashion that it is. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.